All right. Another great show, great episode here on Lancaster Connects. You can see you get Jeff solo this time around. My business partner, Ben, is in sunny Florida, checking out Mickey and Space Mountain and probably some princess stuff. And I think they might even be in Universal today doing the Hogwarts thing. So, you know, it's very cool. I'm very happy for Ben and his family. They get to do this. Um, they have planned a very nice vacation for themselves, and I can't be happier for them. So I'm here on my own. We've got a great guest with us this week, but thanks for watching Lancaster Connects. This is the show about small business success, small charity success. Our guest has a charity that he loves that has been on our show, so it's always great when those things come around. But this show is about the battle on Main Street, David versus Goliath, big versus small. And we're happy to give a platform here to the community through Lancaster Connects so we can highlight great charities and great businesses doing good for Lancaster and Lancaster County. So if you love the show, make sure you comment. Make sure you hit that reaction button, not just the like, but move the cursor over just a little bit and smash the love button, as we like to say around here, and share this show. It really helps us out. It's very simple for you to do, but it does help lift the show up within the algorithms. I think we're all familiar with algorithms nowadays and how they work, and sometimes work for us and sometimes make it harder for us. But if you can do those couple things, comment, hit that love reaction, and share the show, we would appreciate it. Plus, entering to win, putting a comment in gets your name in our $25 gift certificate raffle that we do. You get a $25 gift card to amazing local restaurants like Shot and Bottle. I think we've had Belvedere in there in the past. I mean, I'm not going to try to go down, but we've got a big bowl of $25 restaurant gift cards, and you get to pick your favorite. All right. So you do that comment on the show, during the show, and then as it's on the screen, we'll spin the prize later at the end of the show, and that's how we'll pick the winner of the $25 gift card. You can watch this show on YouTube, on the Gardeners channel, on Lancaster Connects channel. You can watch the show on Facebook on the same. And we'd love for you to do that. It's kind of cool. It means you can watch it live. You can watch it at home tonight. You can dial us up in any of your smart TVs or streaming sticks that you might have and get your dose of Lancaster Connects from the comfort of your couch. All right. Without too much further ado, though, we've got a great guest this week. We're going to bring Mark on. Mark Pontz, man about Lancaster. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for joining us. So for those who don't know, Mark is the creator, publisher, producer, all things amazing for Fine Living Lancaster magazine.
Correct.
That's his thing. And we'll talk about that a little bit today. Mark is also a loan officer with loanDepot, can help people secure the house of their dreams, increase their wealth and financial stability through home ownership. And I'm sure, Mark, a lot of crazy things going on today with regards to loans and homes, right?
A lot of crazy things. The craziest thing is there's really hardly any houses to buy, Jeff. There's nearly 600,000 people in the county of Lancaster. I didn't do it last week, but the week before there was less than 170 resale homes available in the county of Lancaster, meaning not a new construction promised to be built, but a house you could theoretically move into quickly, less than 170 for a population of almost 600,000. So it boils down to 0.4 homes per person in the county. That's not a lot of houses. So everything's a fight.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about how you can help with that. Maybe give some tips for people.
Sure.
Maybe how to structure their offer and how to come to folks like yourself to secure a mortgage and get yourself in the best position. But that's the stuff we do. We're here together to talk about cool stuff about Lancaster. You're also a photographer. We're going to share some cool photos you took too.
I am indeed.
So I guess let's just kind of start there. So you got three things going on. Mm-hmm. Mark Pontz, the photographer, mm-hmm. Mark Pontz, the loan officer, Mark Pontz, Fine Living Lancaster. Let's what's that evolution? Like, how do we connect the dots there?
So let's start with mortgage, because that's where the dots start. So
All
I
right.
got into the mortgage industry in 1993. And in 2007, that's where I was going, is when I founded Fine Living. And the theory of Fine Living was I had met just so many cool people over the years writing their mortgage for them. And I thought there should be a way to put out there all these cool people. So long story short is that's where Fine Living comes from. And then the photography evolved from that, because you need photography for a print magazine or a web magazine or a website. And
Yep.
of course we were hiring photographers, and I just always liked photography. But as my wife said, she's proud of me because I sat down and learned how to do it, learned what I didn't know with photography. So each one fed the next, which I think is in anybody's life, in their business journey, you can find that. But mortgages was how I live. Fine Living was to both highlight the interesting people I met during doing their mortgage. And I mean, we can get into this later, but the different people I've done mortgages for, I mean, I've done I've done a mortgage for a Hollywood movie star. I've done a mortgage for a multi-million selling rock star. I've done a mortgage for a professional baseball star. So cover all those things, and so many cool people that just live right around the corner. So,
Right.
you know, you meet so many interesting people, it evolves into Fine Living, and then Fine Living evolves into, I like doing this, maybe I could be good at it, and turns out maybe I am.
Very good. Well, I mean, I've seen your work. I think so. I think,
Thanks.
yeah, obviously you're doing it well enough to have how many, I mean, you know, what, 14 years now, 2007 to 15 years. Is that right?
Yeah, we're in our 15th year now.
It's
I didn't do
awesome.
all the photography for an entire 15 years, but at least the last 7.
Yeah. So, are we in the 15th year, or is the 15th year going to be like the 3rd issue of the year, 4th issue of the year?
So the magazine started, the first issue was February 2007. So we're in the 15th year.
Yeah.
You know, print is evolving as the web continues to conquer the world. So we've changed a little bit. When we first came out, it was 4 times a year. The pandemic hit, so we did 3 that year. The year of 2020, we did 3 last year, and we're going to do 2 this year, and make them a little bit more dense, but in a positive way, meaning a little more material in it, a little more content, a little more page count. I think that's, I hate to say it this way, I think that's enough for people. Fine Living tends to stick around. People tend to keep it a long time. So if we're giving them 2 really great issues in a year, I think that certainly will, certainly ought to be enough for them.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, your magazine is certainly one of those that kind of gets on the coffee table, if you will, and gets organized nice and neat when the guests come over, right? Like, it's the magazine that somebody reads. They certainly use it. They go for the stories. But then, like, when family comes over or friends come over, it's, well, we got to pretty up the living room, and it just sets down there and doesn't get in the trash or anything like that. So something like 0.04 houses per person available in the county right now.
Mm-hmm.
From your view, why is it that Lancaster is thriving like it is? Now, other surrounding cities like Reading, Harrisburg, York, you know, similar population, similar demographic, but I see it. I feel that Lancaster is certainly in the tops there. Why is that from your view?
I think it's everywhere. It's across the nation. I mean, when I see things for mortgage stats, it's national stats. But you're right, Lancaster is even a little hotter than the average. And honestly, Jeff, I think it's all the lists we keep getting on. You know, 10 coolest places to retire, 10 coolest small towns. Lidditz hit #1 cool small town a few years ago. I think, you know, you type in Lancaster in a search engine, and you're going to get all these lists telling you what a great place it is. And people hear that, and that's where a lot of money is coming in from New Jersey and New York, and that's another reason people are fighting, and prices are going so crazy. The money's coming from places where the cost of living is so much higher, people see what they can get here. They're working from home. They don't need to be in Manhattan. They don't need to be in a suburb of the New York City, or they don't need to be in New Jersey. They can work from a cool place like this for a third of the cost.
Right.
And so they need to bring their money here. I mean, I was talking with a realtor client this morning who listed a house last week, and the people went out on a wing and bought a home on auction and said, boy, I hope we sell our house. Sold it for $57,000 over ask. So it's, there's money here in Lancaster. There always has been, but there's a lot of new money coming in.
Right. So getting on the tops of those lists, obviously that's good for the realtors, right? Helps market their listings. But you get around town quite a bit. A lot of the folks, a lot of the businesses, a lot of the charities, a lot of the people making things happen. What's that glue? Like, what's making our city so great from your view?
I think it's a combination of all those things. It's the cost of living. For example, my daughter lived in Los Angeles for a few years after college, and she'd be home to visit. Nothing she didn't know, but being out in the adult world, go out in Los Angeles, an extreme example, sure, but go out in Los Angeles and buy a meal and a couple of drinks, and it's, $250.
Right.
Go to the Belvedere, and a dinner, 2 dinners and a couple of drinks is nowhere near that. Blackworth and Lid's another great place. It's just the value, and that's what gets it there, because that's what all these lists mention. Oh, you can go this place and this happens and this costs this much, and people are like, Jesus, if this food's any good, why don't we go there?
Yep. We were talking in the pre-show about some of the artwork that you shot, and you shot it at South by Southwest, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's in Austin, Texas each year?
Austin, Texas.
Yep. I often say to people who ask me about Lancaster, the first thing they say is Amish, right? Everybody always relates Lancaster to Amish. Right. But yes, we have them. And yeah, I had a location at one point that had a hitching post out front, and that was kind of neat. But really, when you get to the city, I often say Lancaster City is like a miniature Austin. I see the arts, I see music, I see culture, I see food, I see community. And I think in my time that I've been to Austin, I see a lot of that, just on a bigger scale, bigger city geographically. Yep. You think that's a fair statement, fair way to describe Lancaster, or how would you describe Lancaster City?
I think it's an excellent way to describe it, because Lancaster has an Austin vibe. Austin has a Lancaster vibe, however you want to look at it. Much bigger, yes. And, but Austin, like anything else, like our city, like any other city, there's going to be areas that are are becoming, as I refer to it. I hate the word gentrification because it's such a negative thing, and it can be negative, but we don't need to get into that.
Right.
But Austin is very similar to Lancaster. I will say the only difference I noticed between Austin and Lancaster is Austin. My son lives in Austin, and it's an incredibly open city in that many people that live in Austin didn't live in Austin when they were born. So it's a little more open. It's a little more willing to feel something new, to hear something new, to see something new. That's the only thing I would say that I wish Lancaster would do a little differently is, open your ears, open your eyes, and be willing to see more than just the thing you've known for 20 years.
Right.
I don't mean to be critical of my city, but nothing's perfect. I'm certainly not.
Sure.
I wish we'd be a little bit more, let's look past the 3 artists that everybody knows and see the new and the up and comers. And we try to do that in Fine Living. We featured an up and coming artist, Keisha Finney, a couple of years ago on our holiday issue. Incredibly talented young woman. So I'm walking the walk. I'm not just talking the talk.
Yeah. So on that note, so you created Fine Living Lancaster to, as you said, kind of highlight the cool people you've already done business with. But you obviously have taken, like, your current issue. If I recall, I was browsing online. You've taken on some social issues, highlighting Black History Month, correct?
To some extent. The last issue was out at the end of last year. So that's Ishmael. That's more about the homeless situation in Lancaster City.
Okay.
We asked him to write that. So we called it the giving issue, and it was highlighting what we felt to be worthy causes. And we didn't just say, oh, and again, on the open your eyes thing, it wasn't just people we knew. We put it out there and said, hey, who do you know? You asked me a question that we'll get into later, is what's a charity that I like? And, we put it out there and said, what charities do you know, what's a worthy cause? And we're highlighting them.
Yep.
So yes, Fine Living has always had a social mission, and boy, there's just so many that have so much and so many that have so little. I feel like we can balance that a little bit.
Right. So do you kind of see Fine Living Lancaster as that platform? Like, that's how I look at Lancaster Connects.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of our submissions is move from success to significance, do important things for the community that we do business with.
Right.
Like, we don't believe we should just strafe our community and take from it by having people come and buy our products. That's obviously what we need to have happen,
right.
But we do it in a way where our service is, I feel, is outstanding, a 5-star service experience. And we always want to give back to the community and give a platform. So that's why we've had the charities on that we've had. That's why we continue to do the donations that we do. When a charity like Off the Streets calls and says, hey, we need 6 twin mattresses to move this family, we say yes. Those are the things, success to significance. That's what that means for us. So for you, Fine Living Lancaster as a platform, maybe share with listeners some like great success stories of what the platform you've created has done for Lancaster City, for Lancaster County.
I mean, I'd say what it's done for the county in general is it's helped make people aware of it, because a lot of the people that I encounter over the course of time are not necessarily people from Lancaster, didn't know anything about Lancaster, and through meeting me and then me connecting them to the magazine have made them aware of Lancaster as a place. And this is, as far away as the far end of the country in Los Angeles. But I feel like I'm a good, like Fine Living /I am a good ambassador for the county of Lancaster. At least I think so. We look at it positively. The subscription base of Fine Living Lancaster is the thing that always slays me. Is we get requests every now and then from Italy or France, wow. Or just I can't fulfill them, but I
right.
send them an email and
right.
say, I'm so sorry we can't do this.
Yeah.
Thank you for being interested in our community. But also hundreds of subscriptions are going out across the country to people I don't know if they came through Lancaster and picked it up and like it and just like know what's going on. But I think it helps reflect positively on our community in general, outside of it, beyond just the 10 best lists and things like that, because it's more about specific things, specific people. And as far as causes and things we've helped, I just like to think that giving them a voice helps. Exactly. When we did this current issue, we had our first launch party since the pandemic, hosted over at Bobby Ray Hall Lexus, and we did some T-shirts that just had the Fine Giving emblem that's part of that issue, and the guests were entitled to buy a T-shirt for $10, and we didn't keep the $10. We paid for the T-shirts, and the $10 went to whatever charity they chose in that grouping of our magazine, because we did it right before the Extraordinary Give. So we collected nearly $1,000 in T-shirts money and gave it all to the charities the next day. So I think giving them a voice and then occasionally giving them $1 or $2.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that voice thing is, I think, so important. It's why we produce the show that we do here. Mark, you recognized it earlier. I always like to give a shout out to those that do great work. Chris Stone, our producer at Cast Ahead.
Fantastic.
He does great work. And again, for our charities, like the second we're done with our show, I mean, they can certainly promote it in advance of our time together, but the second we're done, you have a YouTube link that is nicely produced, graphically pleasing. The sound quality is good. And like, it helps those charities out so much. And we really I try to focus our time together, our questions together, to highlight our charity guests as best we can. So those watching, those listening, understand their mission, understand those that they help. And, it's nice to be able to create that voice, that platform. So kudos to you for doing it with Fine Living Lancaster. You mentioned Bobby Ray Hall Lexus. So that's interesting because I drive past there to come to work from home. Wow. What a complex, what a campus that was like nothing before, right? Just a dirt patch. And obviously they're a big dealer, but did you get any insight into, the confluence of things really held up opening up that dealership, didn't it?
Well, and so they
were in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. Well, and actually you guys have hosted a a Fine Living launch in the past, and I think we talked about that. I came out of there with a really cool chair.
Yes.
But anybody that's a partner with the magazine is entitled to host a launch party. And they had asked me when they started that project, can we host a party when we open? And I said, sure. And that I can't be held to this date as accurate, but that would have been 2020. It might have probably been our spring 2020 issue.
Yep.
And then obviously they got delayed with COVID. And then we weren't doing in-person launch parties. So I said, hey, listen, when we do one, it's yours. And it just worked out well to be this issue with the giving. And even then it was, it wasn't quite the same as our standard launch party with COVID. Omicron was, or Delta, I guess. Delta was happening then. But we had a nice turnout. We raised some money. But I think they were pleased with it. And it's a really cool place. Not that was a part of the subject we thought we'd talk about, but they're also a company that looks to do better in the world. I'm going to back up and say something I've tried to live my life by is to leave the room better than you found it. And to me, the room is the world. So if you walk into a room of people, if you leave there and one person in the room feels better than when you walked in, that's awesome. But, when it's all said and done, if people can say, hey, Mark tried to do better by the world by putting voices out there and things like that, then I've done my job as a person. But as an example, if you take the tour of Ray Hall Lexus, they have these giant water vats in the back, and they collect rainwater, and that's what they use to wash their cars. So they're taking nothing from the environment in order to clean their cars. They bring it in off the roof. It's purified. They use it to wash the cars, and then that cycles through, and they use it for something else. So I admire anybody that's willing to go a little bit of the extra mile to make it better, even if it doesn't necessarily show a dollar.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. We have something similar, not to like pat ourselves on the back, but I love what Ray Hall's doing. So when we take your old mattress out of the house, it doesn't go to the dump. It does not go to the landfill. It gets upcycled through a number of different avenues. There are certain pieces that just don't have a home. And that amounts to one 18-foot box truck a year. Whereas if we just decided to dump everything, we would be dumping a 53-foot trailer about every 10 days.
Sure. And it would save you money, and you're doing the right thing. And I admire that. Well done.
Yeah. It's, I think doing all those kinds of things is important. I'm going to take a step back from what you said about making the room better. So, maybe you've know of Sean has since passed. Sean Stevenson was a big time kind of like worldwide motivational speaker. He was born with an illness, like a brittle bone disease, where if he fell down, he would just break bones, and his body was deformed for that reason, bound to a wheelchair, but really just such a positive person. And I watched a clip of him recently where somebody was saying, Sean, I'm building this business, but I'm really struggling. My YouTube videos only get 12 views. My Facebook posts only get 17 likes or this many comments. And they said, I think I'm just going to quit. It's obviously just not resonating. And he framed it in such a way that it hit me in the feelings big time. He said, if you read the newspaper this morning and there was a school bus that overturned and God forbid, 12 children died, what would we, everyone in this room, what would our nation think about that? What if 17 people died in an apartment fire? We would all look at those lives as so important. You were so important to those 12 or those 17 people,
right?
That they took enough time to watch what you're doing, hear what you're doing, see what you're doing. So keep doing it.
Sure.
Because those 12 and 17 people in that example are important. And I really think if our society just spent more time focusing on making the room better, but I love that you shared it. I really love that you shared that. I think we would go a long way. And those listening locally, I think we can do a lot of good here in our backyard with the same kind of mindset. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I think if I can amend that a bit, is I think you can do it in a way that has no partisanship and no agenda. Just if you can lift somebody up, lift them up. Don't ask them first who they voted for or what their stance is on vaccines and things. Just make people's lives better, and it'll make everybody's life better.
Yeah, we lived in a world that was like that. Let's get back there.
Yeah.
That can be our new normal. There we go.
That's
right.
I'm looking for that every day.
The new normal that was normal. Let's do that.
Yeah,
I like that.
The new old normal.
I like that. So, you kind of touched on your evolution of printing, Fine Living Lancaster. We've got a super fan of Lancaster Connects checking in. Do you know Takesha Stokes by chance?
Does not ring a bell, no.
You two need to know each other. Takesha's awesome. She's just fantastic. I wasn't sure if you would know one another or not, but she's pretty incredible. So Takesha, thanks for watching. She agrees with everything she said. She said so true. I think on your screen you can see the comments as they come in there at the bottom.
I did indeed, yeah.
And we had Mr. Lombardo comment. He said hello to the both of us. So hello, Mike.
Hey, there he is.
You. Yep. He said hello earlier in the show. I missed calling him out. Thanks for tuning in, Mike. Appreciate you. So you shared the evolution of Fine Living. It went from, I believe you said monthly to quarterly. Now again, with the way the world is, you're doing it twice a year. So what does your dream issue look like?
It's all music and food.
Okay.
Which doesn't leave the world any better, but it leaves me happy.
Yeah.
No, honestly, all kidding aside, the giving issue was one of my favorites. And again, it's not just because it's getting some voices out there, but I'm getting to interact with these voices because I'm photographing them all. So, personal passions, obviously photography, but music. I'm a musician. I love to eat. I love to cook. So I enjoy the food things. We're going tomorrow to photograph something new. I don't want to give anything away, but it'll be in the next issue, and it'll be a pretty big thing. That's food related, but that's the perfect balance. Is if it's a third of making people's lives better, giving people a voice. If it's a third of telling people about music, because in my opinion, music makes the world better. If you're in a bad mood, I defy you to be in a bad mood if you pick your song, but find that song that makes you happy. And if you're having a rough day, blast that thing. It won't stay rough for long. And a third would be food, because I love food, and who doesn't? And what a great food town we have. So I guess if you ever see one if an issue ever comes out that's divided equally in thirds by those things, you might go, I think this might be the last one.
Yep. Well, there you go, Lancaster. That's the clue. You have to watch.
Yeah.
You just heard it here.
We'll put on the cover 1/3.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100% on music. I forget what prompted me to do it this morning, but I just searched up on. I actually brought it up on YouTube because I'm a big football fan, and I was in this nostalgic mood this morning on the way in to listen to. Eagles fans are great because we produce a lot of our own hype videos, and we share them around all the forums and whatnot. And Meek Mill's Nightmares and Dreams was made into Flightmares and Dreams for Eagles, Fly Eagles Fly, right, in the Super Bowl season. I defy anybody to go look that video up. It's a adult song, so don't play it around your kids, okay? Just fair warning. But man, I got my whole mood changed.
Yep.
And that's the power of music. And it doesn't have to be, like that. That's a rap song. It doesn't have to be rap. It doesn't have to, I love heavy metal. It doesn't have to be that. It can just be your own thing.
Everybody has their own song.
Yeah. Oh, Chris has a question. So who is your favorite Lancaster area?
I guess it's not legit to say my own band, right? Which is Bailey Run. No, actually, I very much enjoy Mark DeRose and the Dreadnoughts, Chris. They actually are in. I've known Mark for years. He's a mortgage client of mine. His wife and family, lovely family, but great writer, great musician. I'd suggest you look them up. Mark DeRose and the Dreadnoughts.
All right. Yeah, and I mean, on that note, we have the music scene here is very cool. The Chameleon Club, unfortunately, closed. That was like the place when I was coming up. Love that place.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of other good places. Why, like, why does Lancaster seem to be that stop off for some of these up and coming bands?
I think it's the same thing as anything else. That people are seeing the lists. I mean, the Chameleon was, even before Lancaster was getting on a lot of lists, and frankly, when it was a little scary to come into the city late at night, the Chameleon was still doing some business.
Yep.
You know, and I think Rich Ruoff built the reputation. He broke the band live, which went on to sell millions and millions of albums.
Yep.
Joan Osborne, lots of great people played there, and I think they carried that as far as they could. Who knows why it couldn't make it past the pandemic? Lancaster went from being like an interesting little bits of pieces of music to being a crazy music town. It seems to have come back a little bit, which pulled back a little bit, which is unfortunate. A lot of the venues were adding music, and a lot of them, even before the pandemic, pulled back on that. And now that with the Chameleon gone, there's just that many less places to play. However, Roots and Blues is a great thing for music fans, and I'm a initial investor in that. I'm hoping that it gets to keep going and grows. I think Roots and Blues has a chance to become a South by Southwest type of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's not necessarily my shtick, just full disclosure, but I know a lot of people get into it. A lot of people really attend. I know it's a great boom for the city, as a lot of people hit downtown. So that's always good. Like, that's always a great thing to see happen. Food. Let's talk about food for a second. So what's your favorite?
Let's talk about food.
Do you have a favorite meal?
So there's a newer place in Lidditz called Blackworth, Live Fire Grill. The chef, not surprisingly, but coincidentally, I photographed him yesterday for something. But his name is Max Fenton. He is a French-born, Italian-raised chef. And if you have not been there, there you go. If you have not been in there, there's a massive wood fire grill in there. And if you are a steak enjoyer, that is the best steak, bar none. Just fantastic. The guy Max knows what he's doing. I've never had a bad meal there. More importantly, even during these comeback times, never had anything less than perfect service. Belvedere, of course, is always a go-to. Plus, I can walk there in 5 minutes from my house. So those are my two mainstays: the Belvedere and Blackworth.
Yep. Yeah. I've eaten at Belvedere. Can't disagree there. Blackworth is now on the list. I have to go there for sure.
What's your favorite?
For me, I like just about anything. You can probably tell that from the screen. That's okay. But for me, sitting down to a meal with a bunch of people is really great. And what I really like the most is like the sharing style. So, like your Brazilian type steakhouses where everybody's involved. There's a lot of conversation about the food, whatever that might be. Like, that's the kind of meal I really enjoy, because it just opens up a lot of conversation. I think there's something very powerful sitting down to a meal with somebody that, and breaking bread together. Like, I just like that a lot. Yeah. I like that a lot for sure.
Outdoors good too. I like it. If you like outdoor shot and bottle is great in general, but great for outdoors as well.
Yep. So, on the housing market. So we talked about, and I saw the number, you broke it down in a different way. It was 0.04 houses per person, right?
Yes.
I saw the total listing number. You said 160. I saw like 230.
Well, it changes every day.
Yeah.
But this was like 2 weeks ago when I did these numbers, and it was 167.
Yeah. So that's like shockingly low. And it really impacts a lot of things. The first thing I thought of is like all of my realtor friends. I mean, just the supply is not there for the amount of realtors to like exist. It's a real problem.
So I think what's happening, Jeff, is if there is such a thing, it's the reverse domino effect, which when the market first opened up, if you go, I have a Facebook page that I unfortunately neglect a little bit for my business, but I was doing some Facebook Live videos during the shutdown in 2020. And in several of those videos, I said, listen, you could buy a house right now, you just can't go look at it. But when it opens up, get ready and buckle up, because it's going to go crazy.
Right.
But it did, but it went so far past that maybe I'm inventing the term reverse domino. And so the domino effect is, this person wants to buy, so they sell, they buy this house, this person buys, and down the, dominoes. I think the reverse domino must be like, this person wants to buy, they want to sell, but the next one can't fall because there's nothing for them to buy. And that's where we're in trouble right now. And it'll change. It always changes. But
right.
That's where the market is fighting so hard right now, because plenty of people would be happy to buy. Rates are higher than they were a year ago, but they're still excellent. There is nothing for them to buy, and therefore they're afraid to sell. So it just deadlocks everything. I'm in no particular hurry to move, but the house, we live downtown and we have a wonderful house. And it's a great combination of old and new. One of my realtor friends called me and said, I have two people who would buy your house tomorrow, because he's seen it. He said, right. I know what they want. They would buy your house. Where am I going to go?
Right.
And
right.
that's the problem right now.
Yeah.
So I'm putting it out there to people to say, listen, here's the thing. The market has been so crazy. I'm sorry, it's a little long-winded. The market has been so crazy. The values have gone through the roof, especially if you bought in 2018, 2019, it's gone up like crazy. If you bought 6-7 years ago, it's a moonshot of difference in value. You can take that value out to some extent. So the thing I'm putting out to people that are frustrated and saying, I can't find a house, I would sell mine and buy one, but I can't find anything that's even half what I like. You've got a lot of equity. I can help them access that equity and then just make their house better. If you're unhappy with your house because the kitchen isn't what you want it to be, guess what? You've probably got plenty of money that you can pull out of your house to make that kitchen something that Architectural Digest would see.
Yep.
You need an addition. You want a pool, whatever. There's so much equity that people aren't tapping because they're like focused on, no, I got to get a new house. At this point, man, just make your house better.
That's a very good idea. I actually hadn't thought of that. And that brings me to the next question of, so, all right, so we just simply have to move. It's like unable. From your view as a loan officer, because you kind of sit in a unique position, you're almost like, I don't want to, saying you're divorced from the emotion of it is not a fair statement to say to you, but you're not, you're not the buyer, you're not the seller.
Right.
You're an important cog in the whole machine. So from that perspective, how does a buyer best set themselves up to get their loan accepted?
So preparation is key. In the old days, we would take a look at their financials, just generally discussion wise, unless there was some question about a self-employment or something like that. But we just say, how much you make, let's see your credit, how much you have in savings. All right, great. You're ready to go when you find a house. And then we'd start collecting the documents. Now we're saying, all right, we ask all those questions and we say, this looks good. Now, please send us all your documents. Because what we'd like to be able to do is have them make an offer that says, we'll buy your house. This is what we'll give you. Here's our pre-approval letter. We can close in 30 days because they're fighting cash and everyone's fighting a cash offer now. It's hard to beat cash anyway, but maybe that cash offer is from an out-of-town buyer and they want to help somebody local get a house. So anything that can make you as aggressively attractive as possible without being the cash buyer, we're trying to get them there. So that just means being 85% prepared to buy, and then the extra 15% is get the appraisal.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I've seen the question pop up.
Yeah, this is an interesting one.
Yeah. I can jump in on that if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, you live in the city, so go ahead.
Yeah.
Take it.
So Gary, I live in the city, and my foundation is made of stack stone, and it's been here since the late 1800s. I don't think that they're not willing to show you the foundation. I think it's just a matter of asking to see it. That I will say that's another tough part in the purchase process right now is when you're looking to buy a house and the traditional is like, I will give you this much for your house. That's great. We'll settle in 60 days. And in the meantime, I'll get it appraised and I'll get an inspection. I know the inspection business is suffering because people aren't looking at inspections. Like I want this house. So I'm just going to say, I'll give you all the money you want plus more, and I won't have an inspection.
Yeah. A lot of those contingencies and typical steps, they're off. Yeah. It seems to be.
And as far about how to make it better, I don't know. I'm not a structural engineer, unfortunately.
Yeah. So sometimes, Mark, people catch this on pure audio, and you can catch this on any podcast player that you might listen to podcasts on. So we have a comment there asking, just for those that listening, to take a mild step back. Gary was asking about why does it seem like people in Lancaster City don't show the foundations of their homes? So that was where, Mark chimed in and said, it's not so much that they don't, it's just you kind of more need to ask right now. If that's important to you, if you have a concern, you certainly should try to get it addressed. And then as far as making them better, that's not something that I do or Mark does.
Yeah.
You'd have to probably call somebody in there to check that out. But I don't know, so I live in Sinking Spring. Like the name of the town identifies a problem. Sinkholes, right? I don't know that any Lancaster is there anything like that in Lancaster City? Like, is there any spot of Lancaster City that's known for any?
There was a sinkhole in the. Yeah, there was a sink. I'm bad with east and west, but over near Quip's Pub, was, in that general vicinity, there was a home that couldn't be sold because it had a sinkhole in the backyard. I think it can happen anywhere. And there's also an area in Hempfield, Indian Springs, that it's shocking how the names describe what it is, but there's a spring that runs under it. So in that particular housing development, probably 20% of the homes have basements and the rest are on slabs, because as soon as they started digging, they filled up with water. But there's that. And like I said, I think a sinkhole, quote unquote, could happen anywhere, and knock wood, it doesn't happen to any of us. But that's the only one I know that's a particular issue is Indian Springs. It's not sinkholes, it's just there's water there.
Yep. Well, as we look to wrap up our time together, so someone who's looking to buy a home, how do they get a hold of you? And,
easiest way is my website, which is just my name, markpontz.com. And on there is some basic information. And in the digital age, it's really easy. It's just a button that says apply now. It takes 10 minutes and it comes directly to me. And same business day, there it is. Same business day, they'll get a response from me saying, generally we'll say, yes, you can do what you want to do, because they put in a number. And also, if you wanted to know, here's what you can do on the upper ends of it, because that's an important thing I think that people don't always get told, and I always make sure to tell them is, you may have asked for the sake of discussion, you may have asked if you could buy a $300,000 house, and you can. Also, you could buy a $500,000 house. Not that I'm looking to encourage them to spend more than they're comfortable with, but I think it's important to know that if you want to spend $300,000, you are being very fiscally thoughtful and not spending beyond your means. So I always tell them what their top end would be as well. And that all comes out same business day.
Right. Well, and probably right now, helpful to know that number, because if you find a home for $300,000, very likely right now with the market the way it is, you might be $350,000, $360,000. Unfortunately, it's just what it is. Don't be upset at Mark. He's not responsible for housing prices. He's responsible to help you get one.
So far, no one's yelled at me for the price they've had to pay.
Right. But hopefully you get to know Mark a little bit here. Obviously, great ambassador for our community. I think all the things you're doing with Fine Living Lancaster are great. He's into small business. We're in a referral group together, which is how we kind of reconnected here on the show. So look, I mean, I think who you do business with is important. I said earlier in our time, I don't like this, I don't strafe our community. We don't just take back from the community.
Right.
We give back. Here you've got somebody that does the same, feels the same. So if you're looking for a loan, Mark would be somebody to consider. and you go to markpontz.com. And as we wrap up, one thing we always ask of our business guests is, what charities are that you supporting that you like to support?
Well, anybody that's in the current giving issue of Fine Living Lancaster is a good and worthy cause. My wife is a school teacher and has taken my sense of social responsibility from, if it was at a 75, now she took it to 175. She tells me all the stuff, and she introduced me to Gifts That Give Hope. Incredible organization, incredibly worthy, absolutely worthy of. There's Jen right there, a photo I shot.
Yep.
An incredibly worthy charity, an incredibly dynamic and good woman that runs it, and absolutely worthy of your consideration for funds and your attention and thoughts.
Yeah, Jen's been a guest on our show. We love what she's doing there. So I'll tell you what, as a result of you highlighting her on the show, we'll make a donation to Gifts That Give Hope as a result of that, of our time together. All right. So I'll see to that before I leave today. We'll get that to Jen. But yeah, she's doing a great job. And, really is one of those nice things, especially at the holidays. Like, instead of just getting into the usual consumerism, just buy more stuff for the sake of buying more stuff. If you're going to go through that, you can at least work with Jen and get a really cool gift that just helps people in a different way. Oh, thank you, Chris.
And there's Mick.
There's Mick. So we got to tell the story of the photo of Mick Fleetwood.
So just a quick story of Mick. Mick is an incredibly fun guy. I was at South by Southwest and just eating breakfast. A lot of times at South by Southwest, we're going there with a press credential, and you'll get a lot of, hey, can you talk to this person? Were you interested in this? You interested in that? But usually that's ahead of time. But we were there. We had been there a day or two. We were just eating breakfast, and I got an email saying, meet Mick Fleetwood. And I'm like, I love Fleetwood Mac. I'll go meet. So I show up to this place that had been converted at South by Southwest. They take over buildings, and it was a bar restaurant. And I walked in, and I'm like, Mick Fleetwood, and they said, oh yeah, on the roof. Walked up, showed him my pass. Walked in. There's Mick talking about his new book. So I got to photograph him. I got to ask him a question that I wrote up in the magazine. It was a musician-based question. So, and after I asked him the question before he answered, he goes, that's a great question. Nobody ever asked me that before. So I got that going for me.
Nice. Do you remember what the question was?
Yeah. So I said, listen, Mr. Fleetwood, I'm a bass player, and you have spent the majority of your career as a drummer and bass players are like peanut butter and jelly. And I said, you spent the majority of your career playing with John McVie, and then you have the Mick Fleetwood project that's a different bass player. Is that exciting for you and challenging? That's Belly Run. Or is it intimidating? Like, do you look forward to it? Or you're like, oh, I don't know what this guy's going to do next, and I know what McVie does. And his answer was really good. It's been a while since I asked it and wrote it all out, but he basically said both of them have their benefits.
Very neat. Very neat. And there's you, Bailey's Run, with your band.
Yep. And
then we since the story's up, or the photo's up, tell the story about this photo.
Just another. Now, this one was a planned one. This was an interview with a director. She's on the left, and on the right was her main star, Stephanie Beatrice, who some may recognize from the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But that's the fun part about South by Southwest is you're just going to meet some interesting people, and they may just be people that work, for example, we met a musician that actually gave us a drink at a hotel. So we ended up talking about him and photographing him, but this was a more notable film. And we went, my daughter is generally the writer that goes along with me because she's quite a prolific writer. She interviewed the ladies. I stayed out of the room for that. And as they opened the door, because the interview was done, I saw them hugging my daughter. So it must have gone well. And then the next morning I met them at the Driscoll Hotel in Austin and did this photograph, and just lovely people. And that's the thing. I hope Fine Living benefits the community and the people, but the benefit for me has been I have gotten to meet that many more really interesting people.
Yep. Yeah, very neat. And in a way, you get to bring them back to Lancaster, whether it's just in the pages of Fine Living or maybe making a connection for the community. Yeah. You never know. It's always good to have a deep Rolodex. And for all of the younger kids listening, a Rolodex was like something you had on your desk and you actually Just
It
Google
was the
image
paper
search
version
it.
of this.
Yeah, just Google image search it, and you'll know what I mean. Anyway, we've got one last part here of our time together, Mark. It's called the Connection Cocktail. 3 quick questions. You asked
Great.
about drinking earlier. It's kind of pseudo drinking. You'll
Water.
think about drinking. There you go. So 3 quick questions, rapid fire. What is your favorite thing to do in Lancaster?
My favorite thing to do in Lancaster is I love a Barnstormers game.
Oh, there you go. Very good. That's coming around the corner. Baseball.
Right around the corner. And I can walk there from my house.
Gotta love that. Favorite annual event that you go to?
Roots and Blues.
Roots and Blues.
Oh, actually, the close second is the Harvest Breakfast.
Okay.
You know, you're thinking rapid fire, so what hits your head is Roots and Blues. But the Harvest Breakfast is just a one-day thing down at the Central Market in the fall. It's just they're cooking everywhere outside. It's a great time.
Oh, neat. I didn't even know about that. See, there we go.
There you go.
Making more connections. And then here's one. So what part of Lancaster do you impart on family or friends when they come in from out of town?
You have to bring them into the city because, well, we live here, so they're coming in. I have had many musician and art friends come from different areas. You have to show them the city because it surprises them, and they all want to see the country because they want to see the Amish. And right. I drove some musician friends to and from the airport, and we came in at night. This is the first time they'd ever been here. They were in the city for it was for Roots and Blues. Drove them back to the airport on Sunday, and it was all this with the Amish.
Yeah,
because they had never ever seen, and they just were. It was hilarious.
Yeah, yep. Well, very good, Mark. It's been a pleasure. We didn't go over this in the pre-show. I do a little bit of stuff here to wrap up the show. So if you need to get going, and if you're a busy guy, you can bounce off. But I'm going to wrap up some stuff here in the show. It was a pleasure for anybody that wants to connect with Mark, whether that's to be an advertiser in Fine Living Lancaster. If you have a story that you think would be beneficial for the community, hit up Mark. He'll certainly connect with you. If you're looking for a home mortgage or cool photography, or you want to see where Bailey's Run is or talk food, markpontz.com. I think we'll get you to all things Mark Pontz related.
Sooner or later. Thanks, Jeff, and thanks for everything you guys do for the community. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for joining me. All right. Well, just a reminder, comment away. We do prizes here on the show. Commenting gets you into the prize later. We'll spin that here in a minute or two. Normally at this juncture, I do our Sleep Better tip from the Sleep Better book, and I do a testimonial. I'm just going to say this. We have the book here. You go to gardenersmattressandmore.com/sleep-better. Book chock full of great sleep tips. We've had people who get it who've actually delayed their mattress purchase 3 months, 6 months, a year because what's in here helps them. I'm going to share why I'm not sharing a sleep tip here in a minute, but go to the form there on the site. We'll mail you the book for free. I pay for the stamp. I pay for the envelope, and I send you the book. Can't beat that deal. Okay. Normally at this juncture, we also go into our favorite testimonial of the week. Well, we have a lot of those too. You can go to gardenersmattressandmore.com/reviews to see all of our reviews. I'm very proud of these reviews in particular because these are ones that people take the time to handwrite out and mail back to us, which I think in this day and age is special. I think it's a special connection that we've made with our customers because it says a lot about our service. But we're here in 2022 dialing up, always looking to level up our game. So our new mission, and I just shared this with the team today. We've been talking about it internally as a company this week, today especially. But our mission here, and this is why I wanted to spend time talking about this, our mission here now is to change the way you feel about mattress stores. That's our guiding mission. Everything we do is going to center around that. Change how you, our customer, feel about this purchase, about the help that we can give you, and how you feel about the process in general. So we want to change the way you feel about mattress stores. So if you think we're up to that challenge for you, we'd love and be honored to have you come in and give us the opportunity to help you. All right. So again, you can go to gardenersmattressandmore.com/sleep-better to get the book, and gardenersmattressandmore.com/reviews to see how we help everybody and the 5-star experience that we've given them. All right. Again, I mentioned you can watch the show online on Facebook, on YouTube, on the Gardeners channel, on Lancaster Connects channel. Oh, thank you. Let's see. I think that, well, we're just going to say Mega. I like the name Mega. There we go. Mega commented, cool to know what you do with the old mattresses. That is true. That's one of those things I do like that we do around here. It's something that we've done actually for 11 years. So when you pack a trailer of mattresses tight, it's about 150 to 180 pieces. And we've been emptying out that trailer about once every 10 days to 2 weeks if I average it out over all the years. So whatever that is times 11 years, that's how long we've been doing that. And that's a lot of mattresses that have not gone to the dump. And I'm proud of that fact. But I was always saying earlier, you can watch it online, Lancaster Connects on Gardeners channel, on Gardeners and the Lancaster Connects channel. But you can also listen on your favorite podcast player. Just type in Lancaster Connects. Without too much further ado, before we spin up the prize letter, if you want to be a guest, you can go to lancasterconnects.com/guest and fill out the form there, and we'll be on the show. We'd love to have you on. We've have a few business guests coming up, but then we're going to get back to charity guests and continue on with the show that way. So without too much further ado, Chris, I think it's time to pick our winner just as we hit the top of the hour. So we spin the prize later, and this week's winner of the $25 gift card is Mike Lombardo. There you go, Mike. So you can come into the store anytime and pick your choice of a $25 restaurant gift card. All right, folks, thank you for joining us this week. It was another great show. Really do appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the fact that you like the guests we have. If you have a guest that you think we should feature on the show, reach out to us or just go to lancasterconnects.com/guest and put their name in or put your name in, and we'll make a connection and get you on the show. All right. We'll see you next week on Lancaster Connects. Take care.